My name is Lee Devenalt. I am a freelance character artist and technical artist in the video games industry. I have recently begun lecturing part-time at the Hertfordshire University. A question I'm often asked by students is how to begin their careers after they've graduated. Often my responses are based around telling them just to work hard and create an online presence for themselves to make it easier for potential employers to find them. But the problem can run deeper when the students' skill levels are lower than what I would expect to see. Yet they are still passing their classes. How do you tell a student who is passing all of their modules and being told by their full-time lecturers that they are doing great, that they will probably struggle to find work if they don't get better? In order to get this message across more effectively, and hopefully even influence the way students are taught in order to prepare them better, I am investigating skills gaps within the games industry and the role universities play in widening or narrowing that gap. To summarize this essay, I will be researching what a skills gap is, and how it affects the economy specific to the video games industry. I will be discussing the culpability of both employers and educational institutions and their roles in closing the gap. I will be taking data from an interview conducted between myself and a recognized authoritative industry professional with many years' experience, both working in and employing people to work in the video games industry. This data will be used to help reach a conclusion to the issues discussed in the essay, and finally, I will discuss possible ways that employers and educational institutions can accommodate each other and encourage mutual growth. So what is a skills gap? The skills gap is a term used to describe the disparity between the number of people who are unemployed but looking for work, and companies who claim that they are unable to find people skilled enough to fill their roles. The UK games industry is in a continual state of growth, although slowing over the years from 16.8% in 2006 to 2.8% in 2016. It's projected to continue this growth past 2019. With this growth comes the need to hire skilled people, a problem which has persisted for over a decade. Nesta's 2008 policy briefing states that skills shortages constrain growth, and that despite an increase in specialist courses offered by UK universities, studios still claim to have recruitment problems as graduates lack industry readiness. This sentiment was mirrored by Ian Livingstone in his 2011 paper Level Up. Ian Livingstone is the co-founder of Games Workshop and a multi-award-winning games designer and author. He, along with Alex Hope, CEO of Double Negative, the UK's largest film-only VFX company, assert that the UK is losing its cutting edge, having to source talent from overseas because of skills shortages at home, and that this is mainly a failing of our educational system. They cite severe misalignments between the education system and what the UK video games and visual effects industries need. In order to get a more current understanding of the state of the video games industry and the skills gap, I've conducted an interview with Stefan Unger. Stefan is the CEO of Airborne Studios in Berlin. He has been working in the video games industry for over 15 years. He has been involved in the development of award-winning games, and Airborne Studios are currently an outsourced studio with an impressive list of clients, from Blizzard to Microsoft and many more. If I were to summarize the interview briefly, a part must be played by the universities who are allowing students to graduate without the proper skills to perform the jobs expected of them. By combining higher entry criteria and standards necessary to pass, and when talking about on-the-job training, he notes that for many studios, employees need to join at the current working pace, as slowing the development of a project in order to fill the gaps in someone's training simply costs too much time and money. It's my observation that there is undoubtedly a part to play by employers, maybe loosening some of their criteria, or being more willing to take on underskilled people and train them up on the job. It's also important to acknowledge that schools offering courses in these areas may also need to improve or adapt their methods in order to support the growth of a fast-moving and highly skilled industry. In fact, in a recent personal communication with Dr. Ian Wilcock at the University of Hertfordshire, he stated, "Remember, a university is not a vocational training provider. We very deliberately do not give people the skills they need to do a given job." However, this directly contradicts information about the course on the university website, which says, "The MA Game Art and Design degree allows you to develop your game art and design skills and knowledge to a professional level. You will produce a commercial standard personal portfolio that reflects the forefront of current practices in approach, style, and vision." And finally, that this MA in Game Art and Design degree meets the needs of the games industry. So, when the course advertises itself as developing a student's knowledge to a professional level and produce work to an industry standard, and that it meets the needs of the industry, it's not surprising that both students and potential employers might be disappointed at the skill levels of the average graduate, when the actual teaching method on the course is deliberately to not give people those skills. In my interview with Stefan, he noted that the entry criteria for universities are too low, and that it's too easy to complete a degree without being proficient as a working artist. To understand the position of Dr. Wilcock and the university, and to understand why students are allowed to graduate without the requisite industry skills, you must first understand that it's not often in the university's best interest to fail a student, or even just to tell them that they're doing poorly. Because currently universities in the UK receive the majority of their funding directly from student fees, and so retaining students is important to keep a course funded. And being able to show high completion rates makes the university look good to potential enrollees. This problem is further exacerbated when you consider that the people teaching the students are given metrics by which their success or failure are judged, created by people in positions above them who may not have the relevant experience in their field. In fact, there is good research to suggest that once you start applying metrics to success rates, people will actively switch their methods to fulfill those metrics, and that can often be to the detriment of the true goal or task. In the case of university graduate skill levels, if tutors are being judged on metrics of student happiness or well-being instead of student ability, then the obvious choice is to let your students believe that they are doing well and keep them happy. As noted by Stefan, the unfortunate fact is that there is a growing trend towards people applying to his studio for work who have a degree saying that they can do the job, but their portfolio of work shows that their skills are simply not at the level required. According to Unistats, 91% of people who graduated from Hertfordshire University's Game Art and Design course are in work, and 71% of those graduates are working in professional or managerial roles. However, statistics from gamesindustry.biz show an industry growth of 7% per year. There are roughly 10,869 people working in the games industry, and 56 universities offering courses in games art. If we make a conservative estimate that all universities graduate around 50 people per year, that's 2,800 graduates. According to gamesindustry.biz, only around 200 of those people go on to work in active development roles. But Unistats would tell another story, with 2,548 going to active development, including managerial roles. With an increase of 2,548 people, that would indicate an industry growth of 25.7%, far higher than the actual growth rates recorded. My conclusion is that greater research is needed in order to clarify the disparity between industry growth data and graduate employment data. We need to ensure that rigid criteria are used when defining whether a person is employed in a relevant field after graduating, and that simply being employed is different from working in the area of qualification. It's also important that the research shows the reason people are unable to find employment in a relevant field. But testimony of business leaders is undeniable. Universities need to better prepare students with the skills needed to succeed in the games industry. Employers may need to find other ways that help train graduates, which will always be a difficult prospect, as first and foremost concern of any business is to make money, and as long as they are forced to train people, the perception of hampered growth or profit will prevail. However, there may be a solution, if a stronger bond can be fostered between employers and universities. If employers can be convinced that investing time in helping universities create better programs and produce more skilled graduates, then in the long run those employers will see a larger talent pool to pick employees from, with less on-the-job training required. This has the potential to boost industry growth in the long term. As someone who has worked in the industry for almost a decade already, and who has recently started mentoring through private workshops and by lecturing at university, seeing all the back-end problems and metrics that lecturers face, it's my goal to improve the education of anyone who wishes to work in games. One day, opening an academy that exists outside of the bureaucracy of the academic system by leveraging my own skills and network of professional contacts, I will be able to truly focus on teaching students vital skills and theory relevant to one of the fastest growing and technologically evolving industries.